So this Miss Kate Arredondo, this is Sam Arredondo's wife of
71 years.
71 years. I was going to say 69. I knew I was close.
71, you would have been 72 this year.
Yeah. Today is July 28th, Sunday, 2019. So I like to try to do these interviews like I'm doing a documentary, but I'm just looking for data as much as anything. You married Sam when you were how old?
16.
16. And the year was?
1947.
1947. And he came all the way down to where in Texas to get you?
Yes, he was in Fort Hood.
Uh-huh.
And he came to Rio Grande City, Texas,
Uh-huh.
to,
And what day was that?
June the 24th, 1947.
1947. All right, I want to get just a little bit of backstory for you. Your dad, John Foster, served in World War I.
Yes.
And he visited, according to that medallion that we looked at, something like 9 countries. How many countries do you think he served in during World War I?
He's got a lot of in there in the. I'll get the thing out.
On his medallion, we'll get it. Yeah, you can. That's fine. I've got film of that somewhere.
Yeah, but we don't have the countries, right?
Right. I don't have the countries. There we go. Now this is the medallion that they give him for his service, and on the back of it,
You want me to read them for you?
yeah, if you can. I don't have the eyesight for it.
Maybe you can read them.
We got France, Italy, Serbia, Japan, Montenegro, Russia, Greece, China, Romania, Portugal, Brazil, Belgium, and Great Britain.
13 countries.
Mhm.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he enlisted in Fort Sam Houston,
Fort Sam Houston. 12th Cavalry, if I remember correctly.
12th Cavalry.
Good deal. Good deal. But your father was injured by chlorine gas by the Germans, if I recall.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he
And he suffered from that continuously.
turned into cancer,
And that turned to cancer.
but he had.
Okay. All right. And your mother's name?
Victoria Foster
Victoria Foster. And her maiden name?
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez?
Mhm.
Okay. And when did they get married? Do you remember?
I don't know,
Okay. That's fine.
to be honest, I don't
Well,
know.
your father passed away when you were 11, if I'm
He
correct.
passed away in 41.
In 41? Okay. Yeah, that's 10,
1940.
16, 10, 11 years old, yeah. So when you all got married in 47, Sam took you back to Fort Hood. Were you all living on base?
Yes,
Base housing?
we lived in Hood Village,
In Hood Village?
yes. And it was 1-bedroom apartment with a bedroom, kitchen, and bath, and that's it.
That's it.
No refrigerator. It was an ice box. They brought the ice.
Wow, the old school. How many blocks of ice did you go through in a week's time?
Well, they delivered every day,
Okay,
7 days a week.
okay. Do you know where the ice was coming from?
No, I just Killeen, Texas.
Okay, all right. What was the rent? How much did it cost
The
you?
rent, $4.80
Every month.
every month. That was government.
And what about electricity or any of that?
We didn't pay electricity.
So everything was part of that 480?
Yes,
That's not bad. So when did your first child come along?
in 1948.
In 48. And the oldest one is
She's 70 years old.
70 years old. Okay. Uh, in 47, if I've got Sam's timeline correct, there's a trip to Fort Ord, California. There's a trip to Alaska. And he does a little time doing as a pallbearer, not a pallbearer, but the...
he was a pallbearer when Cynthia was born.
When Cynthia was born. And
No,
Cynthia's the second?
He carried the dead.
Yeah.
He brought them.
Transported the dead. Now that was a 9-month duty, if I
Yes.
recall.
And that was in 1949.
In 49. While he was at Fort Sam Houston in 47, what was his job? What did they have him do on the base?
In Fort Sam Houston?
Oh, I'm sorry, Fort Hood. I apologize.
What was his job? Well, he was just training
Tankers?
the guy.
So he was part of the training cadre.
Yeah.
Do you recall him taking a trip to Fort Ord, California?
Yes.
Do you know when he left?
No, I don't.
That's fine. When he came back from Fort Ord, and then in 49, after he does his 9-month pallbearer program, delivering the dead, he told me that the ones that he would take, the soldiers he was returning were Catholic, as he was also Catholic. And they said that those guys, like if a Jewish guy came back, they would have Jewish soldiers deliver the dead. So that there was a little bit of congruency between who was, bringing the dead home and knowing the services and the programs and so on and so forth. After he does that 9-month stint, he goes back into training, if I'm not mistaken, in Fort Hood. Is he teaching drivers how to drive again?
Yes.
Okay. So the war breaks out in Korea on July 26th, 27th in North Korea. They come across the 30th parallel. That was June, I'm sorry. Round about July, Sam gets called up, and we believe that date to be the 27th. Is the day he
I
got
thought
on
it
the
was
train.
24th,
The
but
20
it might be this 27th.
Well, I could be wrong too. I mean, I'm working from memory here. I didn't bring notes with me. That's the whole point of doing the interview the way we're doing. So you remember it was the 24th.
He left on a train.
Right. Do you know if he went straight to Fort Stoneman, or did he go to Fort Ord, or did he go straight to San Francisco?
They did say.
They didn't tell you. Okay. He volunteered along with 3 other guys from his cadre, correct? Do you remember any of those guys' names?
No, I don't.
That's fine. You don't have to have an answer for any of these. You know that, right? All right. So when he goes to the war, there's a guy that I'm working with. His name is Alan Head. His father, Frank, was in D Company. Sam was in C Company. There's another guy that I've made contact with. His father was in Korea, and he passed away a few years ago. He was in C Company. The reason why I bring up Frank Head is that when I talked to Alan and I asked him if he knew a Sam Arredondo, he said no. Then I asked him if he knew a guy that they called Geronimo or Pancho, and he said yes, I do remember him. He said, but I can't remember if it was at Fort Drum or Fort Hood, or if that was in Korea. He said it could have been either one, or it could have been both. So I actually found somebody that remembers him. And that amazed me to no end, just to say the least.
You're hot. Are you hot? Are you hot?
I'm
Up
comfortable.
Oh
there?
no, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable as long as you're
No,
good.
you be
I'm
comfortable.
good.
We're good. Yeah, we're in your home, honey. We're in your home.
Okay. No, but I don't mind turning the TV.
Oh, so if you're comfortable, we're good. It's all good. On November 27th, well, let me back up for a minute. So Alan's helping me track down his actual physical location throughout every few weeks of the war. And when I tie that together, as I'm tying that together with Sam's battle stories and some of the events that happened, I can now chart them. So I will have the blueprint of his footsteps through Korea, which I've never been able to pin down because I don't know how to read the coordinates. Now, in our favor, Alan's dad, or Alan himself, is a 29-year Army guy as a military police. And I've also incorporated the help of a map reader from Washington, D.C. He was in the Air Force, and that was his job in the Air Force, was to look at maps all day. So the two of them are getting together with the coordinates that I found, so we can blueprint out just exactly where he went. Sam mentioned Tagoo. He mentioned going to a town that was a leprosy colony. And I found out the name of the town that was the leprosy colony. Sam couldn't remember the name. It was
What's the name of the town?
Taejon. Taejon. Just a little bit north of Tagoo. And Tagoo's a little bit north of the Pusan perimeter.
Is that in Korea?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely. So after Taejon, they move up to the 38th parallel, right? There's some action in the Chongchong River, and the confusion is that Sam leaves Fort Hood with the 67th Tank Battalion. Upon arrival in Korea, that title is changed to the 6th Tank Battalion. I have read 3 books, and while they mention the 6th Tank Battalion, they say absolutely very little about what they've done. My point is, you could read a book that was 24 chapters wide, and it might have 1 paragraph.
did Sam ever tell you about when they were surrounded?
Yes, yes, and that's what we're getting into. That's what I was about ready to speak about. So here's what happens, is they get into Pyongyang, and Sam and the 6th Tank Battalion, they're the first tanks into Pyongyang. The 72nd Tank Battalion went around the town and came in from the north. But Sam, and along with the 2nd Infantry, went into Pyongyang first. Right? After that battle, after they take the capital city of North Korea, the 4 tank companies, A, B, C, and D, get separated. A and B head up northwest, C and D went east. Now Sam says that he saw the Yalu, he got within 10 kilometers of the Yalu River. I found the town. It's called Chosan, Chosan. Along with that, and talking with the other members like Alan and Joe Bortles, and a couple other people that I've dealt with, there's a guy named Rodriguez, William Rodriguez, who was with A Company. I've been speaking to him through his daughter, and all of them, all 3 of those company guys, when I have anybody from Company B, all of them said they got within 10 clicks. So I'm starting to believe that maybe the entire 6th Battalion was up at Chosan and then came back. And that's my grayest area that I'm trying to iron out, and I can have the whole Korean War issue resolved so I can finish writing. Okay. In the meantime, moving forward from Sam's story, on the 27th of November, which is the 2nd day of the first fighting at the Chosin Reservoir, the first being the 26th, they had been pulled back by orders. They went up, when they were up there at Chosan, that's when they saw all the Chinese marching across,
Yeah.
right? So they got orders to come back. General Walker had the area of operation line dropped way down. It actually runs parallel with the Marines at the Chosin Reservoir. So we're talking about the Chongchong River now, and some fighting that may have occurred there, and I'm still getting data on that. But on the 27th of November, Sam gets cold in his tank, and he gets pulled from his tank and sent to the 3rd Army Hospital. Now, there's 2 of those. There's a 3rd Army Hospital, which I believe is in Japan, and then there's a 3rd Army Mobile Hospital, MASH unit, just like the TV show.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they sent him. But your recollection is going to help clear this out. Did he go to Japan after that?
He went to Japan, R&R.
For R&R?
Yeah.
So he didn't go to Japan for rehabilitation for frostbite
No,
or...
he went R&R, and he went shopping.
He went shopping.
And he sent me dishes. The girl, I had Sonia and Cynthia,
Uh-huh.
and he sent them new jackets and pictures. He sent a bunch of stuff.
Just loaded you for bear, huh?
Uh-huh.
Stuff to fill the apartment and keep the kids warm.
Yeah. Sent them little jackets, you know, with their name on it.
Yeah?
And the Japanese wrote their name on the back of the jacket.
In Japanese.
Uh-huh.
Okay, in Japanese, that's very neat. He never mentioned anything about that.
Yeah. he sent them the jackets and sent me those dishes. I still have the dishes
Do you really?
right there in back of you. They're not turkey,
The Taki?
not turkey.
No Taki. Oh, wow. Well, we'll just get a little shot of that. That's nice. Now, is it the lower set or the upper set? There's like two sets here.
They're
The white ones at the bottom?
the bottom ones.
Okay,
And there's,
nice. That's fantastic.
he always send me stuff. You know, he liked to send me stuff.
That brings up an interesting question for me. In terms of finances, Jimmy, you're back at Fort Hood while he's in Korea. How's that working out for you financially? Is he sending money back or?
Yes, the government sent me a check,
Okay,
and I got along pretty good.
okay.
I've always known how to handle the money,
Mm-hmm.
and I handled it pretty good.
Okay. Did you have any reservations about becoming a military wife when you all first met?
I'm used to it because my father was in the Army.
Okay. So it was an easy transition for you.
No
You
change.
knew what was coming. Okay,
I knew what it was to be in the Army wife.
right. Okay. When did he come home from Korea, from Japan, Korea, and all that?
I can't remember the exact day.
If you can get it within a month, I'd be happy.
I really don't know.
All right, that's fine. Do you recall what his next station was?
Fort Hood,
Okay. Now somehow he ends up in Germany.
yep. Well, that was the second time. He went to Korea 2 times.
Okay.
And the second time, they sent us to Germany.
All right. So when did he go to Korea the second time?
Well, the first time was 1950,
Yeah, that was the war.
yeah. And the second time was, they still had a war. It was about 53.
Okay. So right when they were getting ready to sign the
And when he
armistice.
came back, they sent us to Fort Knox.
Oh wow.
And that's how we landed here.
See, he never told me that he made a second trip to Korea.
Yeah.
Other than I thought he was working at, I had it in my mind, and maybe my notes are filed, that he was at Camp Casey in North Korea or South Korea, and running the gun range. But you say that's in Germany.
Yeah, that's Germany. We went to Germany from here, 57, we went to Germany.
Okay.
That's where Linda was born.
Okay. And that Linda's your third, right?
My third,
Your third child
no,
at that point?
she was, let me see, Cynthia Hilda. I can,
Take your time, buddy.
let's see, it's Sonia, Cynthia, Hilda, Lisa, and then Linda, my
Yeah.
5th child.
And so when Linda's born, you've already got your 5th child. That is your 5th child.
Linda was my 5th child.
Okay. And the adoption of Sam is
I adopted him 2 years later
in Germany
in Germany.
in 59?
Mhm.
Okay. Now how long were you all in Germany?
4 years.
4 years.
We had to stay there because we had to get everything legal.
Okay.
You know, Sam had to be legal.
Now, did you all live on base or off base?
Yes, on base.
Okay. And that's when the infamous letter gets written, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the second time.
That was the second letter?
Yeah,
I didn't know there was another one.
yeah, we went to Germany twice.
So when did you go, okay, see if I get this right. You go to Germany in 57,
Uh-huh.
57, 58 era, right? You do 4 years. You come back
Come back here,
to Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
That's how you landed here.
Yes, and they sent us back.
And he re-ups and you get up back to Germany. How long were you in Germany the second time?
3 years.
Right. The letter that gets written, that gets Sam in so much heat.
That was when I we wrote the letter,
Was that the second time or the first trip?
the second
The
time.
second trip.
Uh-huh,
And that's when he was working the gun range.
yes,
Now, what was he doing his first trip to Germany? Do you remember?
the first trip. He was just a platoon sergeant.
A tech sergeant? Yeah, platoon sergeant. Okay, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. But he didn't get his. He was still stuck in grade all that time.
But the second time, they put him in Grafenberg.
Grafenberg?
First sergeant sent him and some other guys,
Yeah.
2 other guys. And they made rank when I wrote that letter, because I had them mentioned in that letter.
And neither one of them had served in World War II, correct?
No, no. The other guys didn't, but Sam did.
But Sam did. That's what promoted you to write the letter.
Yes,
Or they have the letter written.
I wrote the letter and said Sam, they passed him all, and the 2 guys, they passed him also.
How many years had he been in grade? Do you remember?
About 7?
So 45. That puts it at 52.
No.
Had to be longer than that.
Little more.
So what year did you go to Germany the second time?
62.
All
I
right,
think it was 62.
62. So you leave in 59. You come back here.
We came here, we were only here a year, and we went back.
Okay, I can iron that out. So 12 years in grade.
Yeah. And I got mad because I kept telling Sam, why don't you tell him that you've been a sergeant for so long? And he said, well, leave him alone. If they don't want to give it to me, it's all right. I said, but it ain't all right with me.
Right.
So
We got a family to raise, right?
that's right. So then we got busy. And Cynthia is next to the oldest,
Huh?
and she knows how to write real good.
Yeah.
So she wrote the letter to the congressmen, senators, and the president.
Wow.
3 letters. The president, the congressman, and the senators. And I wrote to the congressman in Texas. He got on the ball. And these 3 fellows, they brought them back from Grafenberg,
Yeah.
and within 3 weeks, they had rank.
And Sam didn't.
So hey, Sam did too.
Oh, by that time.
Yeah.
So all 3 of them got rank. Okay.
All 3.
But 2 of them got rank while they were in Grafenberg.
They didn't have it. The colonel came to talk to Sam.
Yeah.
He said, did you write this letter? He said, what letter?
Yeah, I got that story.
Yeah.
Oh, that scared, that steamed him up.
He said, what letter? He said, this letter. He said, no, sir, I didn't write it.
Right.
And the signature was mine.
Yeah. Well, Sam told me, he said, he told the colonel, he got in the limo with the colonel, and once he found out about the letter, and he could understand who wrote it by the way it was read to him, he was doing the writing, and he said, you wait till I get home. And the colonel told him, you don't say a word. You don't lay one hand on those girls. You don't say a word about it. That's, he just told him, drop it, son, or you'll answer to me.
I came home from bowling that afternoon. I was bowling.
Yeah.
And he got in the same time I did. And he said, I want to talk to you. And I said, what for? He said, did you write this letter? I said, yeah. He said, I swear. And he started talking. And you know how to send talk.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what are they going to do about it? He said, they sent me back home, back to the base.
Yeah.
They sent him and the 3 guys. They took the other guys. There were 3, Sam and 2 other fellows. I forgot their name.
Yeah.
Sent them back to the base. They left Grafenberg,
Right.
and they went back to the base. And within 3 weeks, they had the rank.
Wow.
All of them. Those guys couldn't thank me.
All right, I want to be clear about something. If you make your second, when Sam makes his second trip to Korea, he's there as an instructor, or as a fighter? I mean, by 53, the DMZ is pretty well defined at that point.
I really don't know what he was.
Okay.
All I know, he was a staff sergeant.
Okay. I'm going to mail you a document, and I'm going to put on there a couple X's and check marks where I need you to sign. I'm going after some files of his ERB file, S2 file. It's like, should have accompanied that DD-214 that you all went and got a copy of. But this actually shows dates and times of when his assignments were and where he was assigned. It'll tell me the company, it'll tell me the dates, and by that I can determine more about what he did his second trip to Korea. He never ever mentioned that. We've been talking for years.
He went to Korea 2 times. I have the papers.
Yeah?
I send them because Fort Knox, there's a lady that takes care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam didn't have nothing, but I got busy and sent them.
Yeah.
And they send me the medals and all of that stuff.
Right. There's also a medal he's missing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see what I can do about getting that. I've been saying that for a while now, but I think I finally know who to contact.
Uh-huh.
His Korean medal that I'm looking to get for him actually comes from the country of South Korea. It doesn't come from the United States military.
Is it a great big one?
It's a big one with multicolored stripes. It's an,
I got it.
it's an ambassador medal.
I got it.
You did get that.
Yeah,
Nice.
I got it.
That'll fill it out. Excellent.
They had a service at the Catholic church,
Huh?
and this friend of mine was the one that presented those medals.
Wow.
So they had a big ceremony,
Fantastic.
and they gave all the ones veterans.
So he got his ambassador medal.
And Sam said, "This is yours, and I want you to wear it." I think I said, "Wear it? No,
It's
it's brand new.
like a cowbell, wasn't it?
I mean, big."
The same one Ray Vallow got when we went. Yeah. She was there when we went to the Army chapter of the Chosen Few in St. Louis. And while we were there, basically the assistant ambassador to South Korea showed up for this reunion, and he presented another friend of mine that's helped me understand the Korean War, presented him with his ambassador medal while we were there. I've got it all on film. I mean, Ray had no expectation it was coming. I mean, it was a good moment. It was a proud moment. But nice. So I need to find out more about a second trip to Korea. The amount of detail that goes into that part, I don't think is important, because I'm not sure he was fighting at that time. He may have been.
He said he was fighting.
He was fighting?
He said he was fighting. Because he went right away. He just got back, and the next thing I know, he was gone again.
They packed him up and sent him again. Do you know if he went with the same group of guys?
I don't know.
See, I would assume he would have been.
But we were in Fort Hood when he left the second time.
Right. So I'm wondering if he was attached right back to the 6th Tank Battalion, or the 72nd, or the 73rd, or...
I really don't know.
I know, and that's disheartening, because now we're missing out on possible fighting that he may have been involved with, and that would have been basically his 4th time in war, or his 3rd time in war.
But that's when the war was really bad.
Yeah, the lines were drawn, but there was constant fighting. Everybody trying to
And
get
he
over.
volunteered. I said, "Why did you volunteer?" Well, somebody's got to go. I said,
He
"Well,
volunteered the second time?
Why did you volunteer? If anything happens to you, here I am stuck with all these kids.
Right.
But he volunteered for Vietnam too.
Well, let me tell you a statement that he gave me a long time ago. Maybe this will help answer that question for you. I had a discussion with a Marine Corps tanker from Desert Storm, and later on in Iraq. He was part of the spearhead that went into Al-Nazari. So you had a group going to Baghdad and a group to Al-Nazari. He was on the spearhead to Al-Nazari, and he re-upped he volunteered to make this trip. And he'd already been in battle situations before. And I asked him, I said, well, why are you doing this? He said, well, be honest with you, I don't think my boys are smart enough to stay alive. Now, what makes that funny is when he told me that, Sam had told me the same thing that 6 months before. And Sam was, almost 90 at that, or 80, he was like 88 years old at that time. Because I asked him the same thing. I said, Sam, I said, most of the guys after World War II had enough. I mean, that's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
And even compared to today's numbers, that's a lot of fighting. And he said, well, Bobby, to be honest with you, I didn't think my boys were smart enough to stay alive. It was the exact same quote from two different men that were tankers, from two different branches of the military. And that just blew me away when Dylan told me that, and knowing that Sam had just said the same thing. So it makes me believe that as much as he had commitments to the family, he saw his job in the military, that was his career path. And in order to facilitate taking care of you, for him, he had to be in service. But he also had a very high commitment to the men in which he served with. And I don't think that was more. I don't think he valued them more than he valued his family. But I think there was a high level of value there. And in Sam's case, and in his own mind, listening to him talk, he was pretty smart. As far as being on the battlefield, he was pretty smart. He knew I think he knew deep down he was going to get through, especially for his commitment to Mary. He's constantly saying his prayers. He never had a fear of being taken out as long as he had her in his mind. He said, I was good to go. But he told me on Vietnam, the volunteer part of Vietnam is, if he went, he was going to be a tank retriever, and he didn't want no part of that.
But he didn't go to Vietnam, but they consider him that he was in the service when Vietnam was, and he trained here at Fort Knox.
Yeah, he trained drivers and
So they and the cemetery, they put that he was in Vietnam. He was,
they got him listed as being a
they put
veteran.
up the stone. And I went in there and I asked him, how come they had put Vietnam? He said because he was in the era of Vietnam War,
Yeah,
and that's why.
yeah. He had 29 years service starting in 1940,
Yeah.
1941, I'm sorry, January 41.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a Vietnam veteran. He's not a Vietnam combat veteran.
Yeah.
But he's a World War II and a Korean combat veteran. And if you talk to some of these veterans, they will quickly distinguish themselves. If they're not combat veterans, they'll let you know they were not
He didn't
combat
fight
veterans.
in Vietnam.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't even go to Vietnam.
He didn't go. He
Right,
stayed here and he trained he volunteered.
right.
But Colonel Mace refused to send him.
Right. He said doesn't think third time will be a charm for him, and that it might be a better idea if he stayed here and trained guys.
Yeah, Colonel Mace, no, he wouldn't send him for nothing.
Right. Right.
And Sam got mad.
I bet.
He transferred to another company.
Did he really? But he still trained.
Yeah.
He was still in the training cadre here at Fort Knox. That's funny. See, that cleans up. He never mentioned about getting mad at Colonel Mace. He never said that. Now, he did mention a story about after he had retired, that this colonel had retired as well and was coming to Fort Knox. And Sam and you met this colonel coming in for some type of honorarium or party they were throwing for this colonel. It was all like red carpet ties and all that. And Sam just talked to him like he, was dealing with him back in World War II. I don't know if it was Colonel Gardner or...
That's a story.
Yeah. Colonel Story?
Yeah, it was General Story.
Oh, General Story.
Yeah, General Story. He invited us to this big thing that he had at home.
Huh?
And we went, and he had the man come and open the door for us on the car. I said, why did you do that? And they took us, escorted us. The General Story said, you go get him when a brown car comes in, you get you get them, both of them, and bring them to where I'm at.
Wow.
And we went,
Curb service.
they had a real nice, get together. It had a lot of people
Was this on base?
on base.
Here at Knox.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because Sam mentioned that he made a comment to the general in front of his wife that he was getting a little wide.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was entertaining, the two old guys meet up. Do you know where he came across General's story early in his life, where they met up, where they first got involved?
With General Store,
Yeah.
well, he was his commander, whatever, colonel then. He was a colonel. But Sam's, Sam's colonel. And then he made general.
Then he made general after Sam retired. Yeah. I'll look into his story. Maybe they met in Korea. Maybe they met in World War II. I don't know.
I don't know where they met.
Could have met at Fort Knox.
But you would
There'd
have
be
thought
no.
that they knew each other for years and years, and that they were related.
Yeah. Now there was a Colonel Gardner that he spoke a lot about. He said Colonel Gardner is the one that got him out of the brig and actually got him into a tank. So that was kind of nice over in Italy.
Carson.
His story about being put in a slip trench as Mount Vesuvius was erupting was rather historical for my taste. When he gets home and you all set up shop here in Fort Knox the second time, right? Because you said he goes to Korea, then he comes back, he goes right back. Then you go to Germany, and that's when you really officially settle in just for Fort Knox, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was in 61.
61? Okay. So officially Vietnam hadn't started.
No. And then Sam got the big idea of putting a restaurant. Well, I thought he was going to put the restaurant for him.
Yeah?
I got stuck.
He was building it for you, huh?
And I worked from 5 in the morning to 12 at night in Louisville.
And this is up Dixie Highway, where the old Jesse's restaurant used to be.
Uh-huh.
And that was called Arredondo's.
Yes.
And that was Sam's idea.
And then we also went to the fair.
Oh, the state fair.
Yes. We had a thing,
Yeah.
and we cooked in there and everything. The girls, my girls.
So you had a food truck
Yeah.
at the state fair in 1961, 62.
See.
You never mentioned that
And
either.
he never went with us.
Oh no, he had to put on his uniform, I'm sure.
Yeah. He never went with us.
To the credit of that, me and Mandy were doing some reading on the way home from Virginia, and she likes this place, Taco John's. Well, it turns out that the guy that originated Taco John's was in the Air Force in California, and he started his restaurant while he was in the Air Force in California. Wyoming, I'm sorry. So that story ended up that business ended up getting bought, and I think they tried to go up to like 400 some odd restaurants throughout the country or whatever. I mean, that would have been spectacular if you all had opened up.
And then I had the restaurant in Valley Station, and then Mr. James came and he offered me a building that he had a restaurant
Huh?
right there on the Dixie in Radcliffe.
Okay.
So I moved. I closed the one in Louisville, at Valley Station, and opened this one in.
Radcliffe.
And then we decided to build a building, and went to E-Town, Elizabethtown.
So you just kept getting closer to home.
Yeah. And then I opened a restaurant in E-Town.
Now, Jason, your grandson, he says the rumors, or not the rumors, but the comments throughout the family at that point developed into this little statement. That Grandma started the first Taco Bell.
There wasn't no tacos.
Huh?
No tacos in E-Town, no tacos In Louisville, the only one was that Mexican restaurant on Broadway.
Yeah?
It was the only one in Louisville,
Wow.
the only Mexican restaurant. Then I started that one. I had a fantastic crowd that came.
Hmm.
Then I started one in Red Cliff. And then I moved to, we had a building built.
So, from a business point of view, you never had 3 restaurants open at the same time, did you? Or did you?
Well, I had to
Yeah,
open.
2 open.
Do it same.
If I remember, the rental property one, before you built the building, that rental property one was attached to a hotel? Is my memory
Yeah.
correct?
One was by a hotel.
Okay, do you know what hotel it is?
Well, it used to be Rock's Hotel.
All right, what's it called now? Or is it out of business?
Some Indians bought it.
Okay. It's not the gold vault there at the
No.
end of 1638. Okay. That's fine. I didn't exactly need to know. I mean, this is just for historical value, so
Ralph used to own that hotel. You know?
Yeah.
It's a motel.
motel.
And I had a restaurant there and also had a restaurant on the one that built,
On the one you
to
built.
build.
Right. So, all the girls worked it,
All the girls worked.
and your son, did he
And my
get?
son washed the dishes and cleaned and all that. And they wanted an education. And
Yeah.
that's how they got educated.
That's how that paid for their college and extracurriculars and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
how we got educated.
So let's talk about the restaurant for just a minute. When you opened it up, did you like dress them up a little bit? Did you put them in?
No,
It would just
plain.
casual
Just
wear.
uniform, you can wear a uniform.
Yeah, just kind of like Mel's Diner kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm not being rude when I say that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to identify what the place
No,
would
I
look
didn't
like.
dress them like Mexican, Mexican.
Big long dresses and all that kind of
Hats
stuff.
and all that.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't have worn it. They wouldn't have worn it.
Did but there was a dispute, if I remember correctly, and we've talked about this before, between you and Sam and how that restaurant got ran. And you were like, okay, fine, I'll shut it down.
I thought that he was going to help,
Yeah,
but he didn't.
yeah.
He didn't help. He left it all to us,
Right. But it did serve a purpose though. It was valuable to the family as a whole.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
it was a good investment.
But you got into rental properties as well as time went on.
Yes.
And you got out of the restaurant business and went into ceramics, if I remember right.
Uh-huh.
Kind of hobby work, if you will.
I had that ceramic about 15 years.
15 years.
Mhm.
That's a good measure of success.
Mhm.
It really, really is.
I had to do something. I closed the restaurants, and then I stayed at home, and I'm not a homebody.
No.
I had to do something,
Yeah, even we have to call ahead and make a schedule with you. We don't know when you're available. It's good stuff. It's good
It
stuff.
was a good business, and I made good money, And it's how you manage it, not what you got,
Right.
how you manage it.
Yeah. As Sam got in his later years, and the casino opened where I work, I would see him, but I didn't see him that, to be honest with you, I didn't see him that often. I don't know how often he may have came, but I may have seen him once a month for a while, and then once every 6 months, and sometimes I'd go a couple months and not see him, and don't know if he came or didn't come.
At the boat,
Yeah, at the boat.
he went very often,
He did? Well, I mean, he ducked my gaze, so if
every
he,
Saturday.
every Saturday, I don't know how often, I don't know how many times I missed him.
Where did you all meet?
When did we meet?
Uh-huh.
Oh, almost immediately. It's like his first time going to the boat. He probably hadn't come to the boat maybe 4 or 5 times at that point, so I'm thinking early 90s, 91, 92. And the reason why is because he came in with that veterans cap. He came in with that World War II/Korea cap, and I promise you, it caught my attention. And that's what started our first conversation, as a matter of fact.
Well, I think I've got the first thing that they gave away,
Yeah.
these gifts.
Right?
And I think I've got the first gift I got there,
What was it?
a frying pan. And I got all the stuff that they gave us.
Yeah, he was adamant that if they gave away anything to
Yeah, he was there.
so yeah, right, and
And
because
he bring it, he said, and you don't want me to go, you see, I got this. I got you a house coat, and I got this, and I got that.
frying pans and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, frying
Well,
pans.
I told him about having a dash cam for my car, and he even negotiated with me to get a dash cam out of me, which is fine, you know. Listen to him talk. Did you ride with him? Did he drive you much?
We drove when there at the last.
Uh,
We drove for 1 month, and that's it.
okay.
I didn't drive because I don't drive.
What did you think about the way he drove?
He drove pretty good.
Did he drive fast?
Yes. One time we were going to have an accident, but it was this man's fault. He got real close to us. I mean, real close, and I said, "Oh my God, that man's going to hit us!" And he jerked the truck this way, and he didn't hit us. He was on his phone, this man,
Not paying attention?
and he came real close. I could have touched his car.
Wow.
And Sam, he turned the truck.
And pulled away from him? Kept the wreck from
And
happening?
then he followed the guy. He followed the guy, and he rolled the window down, and the guy did too. And he told him, you jerked it, you nearly hit me, and blah, blah. Just went on, and I said, that's enough. Because when Sam started talking, he never could shut up.
Yeah. He still had a little bit of that warrior spirit in him, though,
Yeah.
didn't he?
I tell you, I was scared.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think he went 2 times after that, no more.
But he's never had an accident
No,
that was his fault.
no, never. I've had 3. I've had 3. 3 accidents. I had one here not long ago. I was going to take a ride, and I didn't see this car coming, and she hit me on the door. It wasn't a big accident. And so I stopped on the median, and the police, I told her, I said, you call the police, I don't have a phone. So she called the police, and police told her, it was, whose fault was it? And I told the policeman it was my fault.
Yeah.
She said, but I had the phone. I was talking on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And he could have prevented.
Right.
The police said, well, I'm going to write this as nobody's fault.
That's a no fault.
So her insurance my insurance paid for hers. Had to pay for her.
But hers paid for yours?
Yeah.
So everybody's happy. Yeah. Because Kentucky's a
Because
no.
I was honest, and I told the policeman it was my fault.
Yeah. And she was honest too?
Yeah. She told him I was on the phone talking to my mother.
How old was she? You remember?
She's about 19, 20.
That's
Oh, yeah.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
And at least she was some. And I didn't think the policeman would do that, but he did.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy. But the other time I had the wreck right there on the Ring Road,
Yeah.
right at the light. The light was yellow, and I turned right, left, and I was going to dialysis to pick up Sam
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock. And Sam says, you never came, and he was having a fit.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so I had that accident, $10,000 damage
Wow.
to the truck. And then I told this police chief, went there, I told him, I said, I gotta pick up my husband in dialysis. And I don't know how I'm gonna pick him up. I have no way to pick him up. Because they took the truck, you know.
Yeah.
They're not.
Chuck was
Right.
dead. Yeah, not drivable.
So he said, you can get in my car and I'll take you. So he took me to dialysis and said, Golly, where were you at? I said, I had an accident in your truck. And I didn't get hurt. I mean, I didn't get a scratch.
Nice.
I hung up to the wheel and I didn't get a scratch. The other guy didn't either. He could have prevented that.
The wreck.
He could have prevented, if he would have wanted to, but he didn't. Because he thought he was going to get money out of that thing. Well, I didn't know this, but the people that were in back of me saw that light was yellow, and I was turning, and this guy came.
He shot in.
So they got a hold of my insurance, State Farm, and told them, he said that woman it wasn't her fault. She had the right to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's caution, you know.
Yeah,
Yellow's
but
caution.
still go, yeah.
But he said, and he just, well, he got his car damaged, but he drove off. So State Farm didn't give him a penny. Not a penny.
He drove off after he hit you?
No, he stayed there.
For the police and all
The
that?
policeman.
Okay. But yeah, okay. I'll follow you now. Is there any story, I mean, you've seen me and Sam talk about so many things throughout the last couple of years. Is there anything you think we missed that we should add in?
No, I don't have a story.
No?
He talked all the time.
I remember you telling me that some of these stories you've heard 60 times and you're like, I'm done. I get it. I understand.
I said, I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. I had that part that.
Cut him off before he got in.
He said, one day you're going to need them, and you're not going to know nothing.
But he was never big on writing things down, right? He wasn't a big writer, wasn't a big reader, but he did have an exceptional memory.
He had a very nice handwriting, and he used to write good.
Yeah.
But he never sat down and write. The only thing he would write was the bills.
Yeah.
You know, the water, the gas, you know.
Yeah. Now I've got his autograph. He brought me a book about his time in Anzio, and he signed it. And that's the only autograph I got. But I'm looking at that signature, and I'm like, you know, he tells me he doesn't write, and I'm looking at the signature, I'm going, that's the hand of a writer, dude, I'm telling
He
you.
wrote very nice.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. I can't write good.
Well, I don't know about all that either. I might
But
just,
I just write the checks, it's the water and light, and that's it.
I'm kind of running out of things to cover. I didn't have a whole lot today. Here in Korea, when he got cold, when did you find out about that?
When he got what?
When he got frozen up in Korea?
When he came home.
That's when you first heard about it?
Huh?
So when he's in the hospital or going to rehab, nobody says anything? He never sends you a letter home?
No. And, you know, he also had his did he tell you about those screws they put on his ankles in
No.
Germany? They were in Grafenberg, in the range, you know, firing.
The gun range, yeah.
And he stepped in a hole and it broke his ankle. And he went to the hospital and they had to put, I still have screws on his feet, a little plate with screws.
To get his feet to heal.
And he was in the hospital about a week or two, and he came home, and I'm telling you, he's a baby. He can't stand pain.
Yeah.
So I said, I can't take this. So I called the ambulance, and they came He said, I want to go to the hospital. I said, you're going because I can.
Because I ain't dealing with this, yeah.
Yeah, when the second time we were in Germany, that he went to the hospital because of that.
Huh.
And then he got okay, you know, he didn't have as much pain. And he came home, and about 2 weeks later he went to work. And then he had to go back, and they took them out.
And so he didn't, yeah, it was just enough to heal the joints and the bones.
Just enough to heal that
Yeah.
ankle.
Now he played a lot of ball.
Yeah,
Did he play ball in Germany?
in Germany. No, I don't think so.
So you think, well, it would have been
He didn't
likely
play.
not Korea
He played ball in Fort Hood.
and Fort Hood.
A lot of ball,
Right.
baseball.
Because he mentioned being picked up on a team because he had a really fast underhand pitch. Was he heavily involved with the girls back here at Fort Knox in terms of coaching and all that?
He was. He had a team.
Right.
That was the Jeeps. Did he tell you about that?
I got a paperclip on it. I was hoping you could tell me more about it because you didn't tell me much.
About and Linda was a cheerleader. They had a cheerleader. and they won. They
Well,
used to play against the officers.
yes.
You know, they just the name of the team was the Jeeps.
Yeah.
That's
You didn't get too creative about
uh-huh. And they were just kids about 6, 7 years old.
it. Yeah.
But then he had a baseball team in Newtown, women.
Women's baseball.
Yeah.
This is overhand pitch
Uh,
or underhand, do you remember?
he didn't pitch there. He was just the man that.
A coach, manager, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But the girls' baseball, was it overhand pitch?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And they won.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, he seemed to have a head for the game. One of his, speaking of Jeeps, just because I don't want to forget about this before I leave, my son's putting a little pressure on me. And he wants me to make arrangements about the Jeep outside. And we can talk about that later if you're up for it.
I would tell him, I said, you go there and play ball, and I'm over here working in the hot kitchen.
Melting.
And you're over there having a good time.
So, did any of your daughters play for the team?
No.
Not at all. So it was just
No,
in coaching a
no,
bit.
He had, they were too busy with me.
Well, yeah.
They couldn't because they had to work.
Wow.
But I also hired help
Right.
so that they could do their homework,
Yeah.
you know.
Have a normal, semi-normal life. Yeah. It was just
Yeah.
these were high school students, basically jobs, if you will. Okay. And did all of them attend college?
All of them went to college.
All of them played a musical instrument.
All of them except Lisa, she went in the Navy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. And Lisa's the one that's no longer with us?
she's the one that died.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after she got out of the Navy, she had that, you know, they give them that free college,
Yeah, the GI Bill.
and she went to college.
Went to college from there. What motivated her to join the military?
Well, she didn't want to work in the restroom.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, I'll tell you one thing, you're not going to sleep all day, and I come home and you're asleep. So she liked to go to the officers club and dance. I said, this is going to stop. I said, you either go in the Army or you go in the Navy or Air Force. Okay. She said, all right. So she took me lightly.
Yeah.
And I called the Air Force, they were booked up. The Army, they weren't taking nobody in the Army, but the Navy was.
Yeah.
So I told this Navy guy, I said, can you come to my house and talk to my daughter? He said, yes. So he came that day, Monday, I never forget. Monday he came and talked to her. Tuesday she went and took her test, and what do they call that? You know,
Swearing in?
no, she took the health, you know, they kind
Oh,
of,
yeah, health assessment.
yeah, and the health and also test. And Wednesday she's on her way to Orlando, Florida.
That quick.
That quick. And she used to, I have her letters
Yeah.
and cards she used to send me. She said, Mama, I'll work in the restaurant. I said, oh no, you're gonna stay there 4 years. And you better not stain your daddy's name.
Nice.
Because Sam used to say, that girl better not stain my name. I don't want nobody talking about the Arredondo.
The Arredondos.
And she went and she stayed 4 years.
Nice. I went to college on the GI Bill. Where'd she attend college?
Well, she went to Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and she met this man, and he was in the Navy too. He was her commander.
Oh,
And she married,
dashing young man.
and she went over there to college.
So University of Pennsylvania, maybe?
Some university, I don't know.
University of Pittsburgh, maybe? I don't know. Okay. Not important. Well, I mean important,
She went
but
into nursing.
nursing. All your children are very accomplished,
Yeah.
from what I've gathered.
Every one of them.
Like they all
I
play a
got
musical instrument.
Two that are teachers. They're retired already. Cynthia retired.
Mm-hmm.
Hilda retired from them.
Right.
And Linda's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
And Lisa was a nurse. And Sammy, an engineer.
You're an engineer.
And Sonia is a professor in the University of Texas.
Wow.
So all of them. But they worked.
Yeah.
Nobody gave it to them.
They earned it. Yeah.
You know, they didn't get a loan like you get now.
Right. And they have to pay it back. Yeah, they cash up front. I can't imagine who they may have learned that from.
The only one was Lisa. She said, I'm not working in that restaurant because I'll get all dirty and greasy and all of that. I said, okay.
Wait till boot camp.
You go to the Navy. And she went in the Navy.
So, well, just real quick, how far up did she go? Do you remember what her rank was when she got
In
out?
the Navy?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't go too far. She was three stripes.
Like an E3?
3 stripes. She had 3.
3 stripes?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. All right. I'll look into it. I'm not that versed with Navy. And
She could make, she could, she was a talker.
yeah?
She could get anything she wanted.
Really? Knew how to negotiate, huh?
Yeah, I mean, she was something else. But she did like the restaurant.
Okay. Well, I spent 5 years in fast food myself, and I got to tell you, I was no fan.
You didn't like it?
It got me through college. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I was worried about. I got through college on it.
Well, she said, I got my education.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my college, I ended up taking one loan for one semester, and it cost me about $3,200. But that finished it. I was done. You know, I didn't have a whole lot to pay back. You know, so I didn't worry about that. But I was there. I was in college for 3 years before I
Did the
graduated.
government help you?
No.
No.
No, that's all. My family was too big, and my parents made too much money, and I started working in fast food when I was 16, so I made too much money. So, you know, it was just one of those deals, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't looking for a master's degree or anything like that, but we're not here for me.
I got one with a doctorate degree.
For the doctorate?
She's the professor in college,
Uh-huh.
and the rest of them had just masters.
Oh, just masters.
Well, and I have 8th grade education.
8th grade education.
That's as far as I went.
Did Sam get that far?
Sam got his
GED?
the GED through the government.
Yeah.
He went.
But that was well into his time here at Fort Knox, though, right?
Yeah, he got it here in Fort Knox.
So he'd already served 15,
Well,
10,
he was
15
still-
years.
He was still in the army.
Yeah, he'd already served 10, 15 years at that
Yeah,
point.
And he got that GED, and I said, he said, why don't you go get it? I said, I can't get it. How could I go and get it when I had these restaurants to run?
3 restaurants to run. And kids to manage.
And kids, yeah,
And a house to keep up, yeah.
it was something else.
Well,
But we made it.
the kids were pretty helpful around the house
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right?
Everybody had a chore.
Yeah.
One, the kitchen, one cleaning, you know. And I always had, the house was always clean.
So did they negotiate with each other about who got what chore what week?
They used to change. One would say, I do this and you do this.
I'll take the garbage out this week, or I'll do the
They
laundry.
worked every day,
Yeah.
and they made good tips.
Well, they're not short of accomplishments, which speaks volumes to their work ethic, I say,
And I got into real estate too,
right?
buying properties. And
So how many, at the height of your rental properties, how many properties did you hold?
I had 4 rental properties.
4?
And then I bought apartments.
Mm-hmm.
I bought apartments. And I had land in Brandenburg.
Yeah.
I had land here in Hardin County.
Mm-hmm.
I was the one that moved.
Why would you need a master's degree?
Hilda gave me a cup that says, I don't have a degree, but I have sense. Yeah.
What, in terms of just you and Sam, I'm going to take like a date night or whatever, you fill in the blank. What was one of your most memorable evenings with Sam?
We sang
When he's being romantic, where would you all go? What would you do?
when we go to the reunions,
Uh-huh.
you know, did he ever tell you about the reunions?
A little bit.
We went to Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
We had a good time there. That's one thing I never forget. And also Tennessee, Nashville, went to a reunion. And we'd stay 4 days in the reunion. It was real nice.
Now, these reunions, the ones that you're speaking of, is that with the 1st Armored Division reunion? Or the
Yes.
2nd Armored out of Fort Hood?
First Armored.
1st Armored.
Mhm.
Did you do any of the reunions with the 2nd Armored when he was out of Fort
No.
Hood? Okay.
Never.
Because that's the way I remember Sam. He always identified himself as being with the 1st AD. And not that he disregarded coming out of Fort Hood, he sees himself as the first, Paul Robinette in World War II. And so when you go to these things, you saw a lot of these World War II guys, correct?
Yeah.
The families, get to know them a little bit. Yeah. Do you know if any of them are still with us?
Living?
Or any of them still with us? Do you still have contact with any of those families?
One of them, he lives in Red Cliff,
Huh?
Escobedo. He was Sergeant Major,
Huh?
and he's still living.
Is he?
He's my age, 89.
89.
Huh?
So Sam served with him in Italy, I would imagine?
He served with him in Korea.
In Korea?
Yeah,
I need to talk to him.
yeah.
Do you have his phone number? Can you give me his phone number before we
Yeah, I
leave?
got his phone number.
I really, really need to talk to him. Absolutely. I didn't know I could. I've been trying to find somebody that knew him in Korea.
Yeah.
Everybody that I talked to about Sam in those reunions, they were always World War II. So,
His wife died a few years ago and he remarried, but he's doing real good.
excellent.
We went out to eat one day, him and his second wife.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little sick, but not that much.
How sharp is he?
Oh, he's sharp.
Needle.
He reads a lot.
Maybe if he's as sharp as you, I'm going to have my hands full.
what he said? He said, I should have never married and waited for you. I said, he's from my hometown. He's about two or 3 miles from my home.
Originally from Texas.
Yeah, he lived in Texas,
Wow.
San Juan, and I lived in McAllen.
McAllen, Texas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine just tell me a story about having to drive down to Brown County, or to Brown, Texas.
Brownsville,
Yeah, Brown,
Brown County?
or it's not Brown County, Brownsville. Is that it? It wasn't too far from Rio Grande. I know that. It was
Oh,
south.
Hebronville,
Maybe that's it.
Hebronville. That's not very far.
Well, this was on the border. I know that.
My father used to go deer hunting there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I always think of southern Texas as being dry and arid and not much farmland or anything. But that's not entirely true, is it? Yeah.
It never gets cold.
That I believe.
Never gets cold. I tell you, that place is hot. 104.
So when you were down there, you didn't miss the heat though, right?
When we're there, it rained a lot.
Really?
I don't know why.
Well, that's good though, right?
Yeah, but it rained a lot.
What's the humidity like? Was it very humid?
Oh, it's bad.
Brutal? Yeah. I think I'm good. I'm kind of running out of questions to ask. And
Okay.
you filled in a lot of gaps for me that I didn't know. I didn't know a second trip to Germany. I didn't know a second trip to Korea.
Yeah. send
This guy you just mentioned, I really need to talk
I'm
to.
going to give you his phone number and name.
Okay, well we'll go ahead and shut this off.